I don't think that there's a better team to start with than the LA Chargers. And more specifically, Justin Herbert. Now, I feel like I've been one of those people that you can say has been harsh on Justin Herbert. Seeing though I am an Oregon fan, and I did watch him at Oregon, and everything that he has done up to this point, I have been very vocal on. I'm not going to say critical. I'm going to say vocal. And the reason why I don't want to use the word critical is because I think that I've been honest about what we've seen. I think that I have been honest about the NFL player that Justin Herbert has been. Justin Herbert is the poster child for a lot of things in the NFL. If you want to put the face to a bunch of things, Justin Herbert is the poster child to that. One of them is he's the poster child for reality versus potential. I don't think there's anybody in the history of sports that, let me see something. I don't think there's anybody in the history of sports that we look at in year 6 of their career and still talk about their potential. I don't think there's anybody in sports that can have 6 entire years of their professional career, and instead of looking at the present, we look at, well, that potential, that talent. I don't think, if there's somebody else, please let me know. But again, we're talking about 6 years into their career. Justin Herbert is the face of, oh, but that potential is so high. And I get it. Yes, the stats are there. Justin Herbert has the most passing yards through 5 years in NFL history. I get that. Justin Herbert is one of the best and one of the most pure talents in the league. I got that. But my question is, when we look at the top 4 quarterbacks in the league, right? We look at Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. Why do we not talk about their potential? Why do we not talk about their talent versus what they produce? Why is it that when we talk about Lamar Jackson, we're so critical on the fact of he hasn't made it to the Super Bowl? We're talking about the game of games. He hasn't made it there yet, and people are uber critical on that. Why are people uber critical on the fact of Josh Allen, as talented as he is, can't get over the Patrick Mahomes hump in the playoffs? Why are people so critical on Joe Burrow, didn't even make the playoffs last year, and yet he's been to a Super Bowl? But all we talk about is, and rightfully so, don't get me wrong. I feel like they've played their way. Lamar Jackson has played his way. These are the 4 best quarterbacks we're talking. So, of course, we're going to be uber critical. Of course, we're going to expect more because their talent demands more expectations. But if we're propping up Justin Herbert to be one of those quarterbacks, if people say that his talent warrants being a top 5, top 6, top 10 quarterback, why are we not as honest about what we're seeing when we talk about Justin Herbert? Again, people is going to say that I'm being overcritical, and I'm not. I'm being honest. At some point, potential got to get thrown. I know what Justin Herbert has done. I respect what Justin Herbert has done. You know what I also respect is the fact of he is 6 years in, touted as one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league, and does not have a playoff win. On top of that, he has been the main reason both times he's had a chance to win a playoff game. He's been the main reason why they have lost those playoff games. If you want to talk about when they played against the Jags a couple years ago, they were up like 28 points at halftime, and he, along with the entire team, crumbled the second half. If you want to talk about last year, he threw as many interceptions in one game than he did the entire season against the Texans. I agree with everyone. And this is why I don't look at it as criticism. I look at it as truth. And this is why, I'm coming off the gate strong. I agree that Justin Herbert is one of the best quarterbacks when we talk about pure talent in the league. I agree that he has traits and he does things in the regular season that other quarterbacks can't do. I agree that if we talk about just pure talent, you can argue that he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. But I'm also honest in the fact that with all that talent that he holds, nothing of merit outside of regular season stats has come about it. Which is interesting because let me advance this conversation. This is probably one of the best teams Justin Herbert has ever been on. When you're talking, you have Joe Alt, who was a great tackle. I know Rashad Slater's out for the season with, I think, a pectoral injury, which is huge. But you have Mekhi Becton, who was a Super Bowl winning guard. You have Keenan Allen. Like, this is Ladd McConkey. He's really good. Will Dissly, he's serviceable. This is one of the best rosters he's been in. Not to mention, Bud Dupree, Derwin James, Khalil Mack. This is it. On top of having Jim Harbaugh as a coach, who's one of the best coaches, as we've seen from his track record. He's one of the best coaches everywhere he goes. This is one of the best teams that he's been on. And there's a reason why a lot of people predict that this could be the year that the Chargers overtake the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll talk about the Chiefs later on in this episode, but I understand why. This is a deep roster. This is a good roster. And my question is, when is Justin Herbert going to show that he belongs in that elite class? Justin Herbert is on that small list of players that it doesn't matter what you do in the regular season. Lamar Jackson's on that list. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, like, it doesn't matter what you do in the regular season because we know how talented you are. And in the regular season, your talent is always going to shine. It just matters what you do in the playoffs. And one thing that, one of the reasons why we have to really slow down when we talk about Justin Herbert being one of those top players is because he has something that he doesn't have something that all of them do, and that's at least one playoff win. But I think that this has to be the year. They have on paper, and if you look at what this team looked like at the end of last year, they have one of the best defenses in football. I know losing Rashad Slater has is huge. But they have one of the best one of the best rosters. This team, and one of the biggest reasons why I started with them is because they have a legitimate shot, in my opinion, to win the AFC West, which there hasn't been another team that could essentially win the AFC West for years now. In fact, if you really look at it outside of one team, which we'll talk about in a second, if you really look at it, the AFC West is one of the toughest divisions in football, which is one of the reasons why I didn't want to start with it. I wanted to get a couple of AFC divisions out the way. The Chargers have one of the best rosters in football, and they have one of the best coaches. But I think, like I say, year after year after year, it don't matter if your quarterback, as talented as he is, again, I don't think that we would have this much energy for Justin Herbert if he didn't show the talent to be a top-tier quarterback. But at some point, when we were talking about the AFC South, I talked about Trevor Lawrence. And I said, at some point with Trevor Lawrence, we have to stop banking on potential. Because you know what that conversation does? You know what that conversation is really admitting? It's admitting that as talented as these quarterbacks are, again, we're talking about Justin Herbert, and right now we're focused on Justin Herbert. As talented as a quarterback he is, as good that he can be, there's still an area of underachievement. That's what that is admitting. That's admitting that even though we believe Justin Herbert is a top-tier quarterback, there has to be a reason why there's a blockage when it comes to the playoffs. Or I'm not going to say a blockage. He hasn't won when it comes to the playoffs. There has to be a reason why he has his absolute worst games in the playoffs. Mind you, it is on him. Because Ladd McConkey probably had his best game of the season in the playoffs last year against the Texans. It was also followed by Justin Herbert throwing, 4 interceptions? And I'm saying that this year's team is better, but you can argue that last year's team was just as good, if not better, than this year's. I feel like I say this yearly, and I feel like I have to continue to say this because the conversation continues to roar on. At some point, again, this is year 6, they have one of the best rosters in football, and you can argue the best roster in the AFC West. But at some point, that potential and success have to meet. Because I'm looking outside of, again, Rashad Slater not being there, which is huge. There's not too many holes in this team. Right now, the biggest hole that I see is the lack of success at the quarterback position. And that's the most frustrating thing. It's not because he's not talented. He's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. It's just, we're still waiting as fans. We're still waiting. And again, I'm an Oregon fan, so this isn't me going, like, I'm not trying to crap on them. This is essentially me saying, win. Is that, but when can we stop talking about, and I'm not even saying that Justin Herbert has to win a Super Bowl. But what I'm saying is a quarterback as talented as him is good enough to at least make it to a Super Bowl. That same type of quarterback we're talking hasn't won a playoff game. I think that this is the year that it has to happen. And when I think the worst, as much as I'm saying that, I still think even if it doesn't, there's still going to be media pundits. There's still going to be fans. There's still going to be people that talk sports that's going to talk about Justin Herbert's potential. And my retort to that is, when is potential going to meet success? Because it has met an abundance of success in the regular season. But just like we talk about James Harden, does it really matter? As great as you are, why is it that the only thing that we talk about is regular season success? Again, if you want to put him in that same class, the top 4, top 5 class, he has to, accolades have to matter somewhere. And he has a bunch of historical regular season accolades. But that's it. And last thing I'm going to say before I move on is, again, this Chargers team has the potential to be the best team in the AFC West. So this is the year. This has to be the year that something has to give. Speaking of this has to be the year. There's a group of teams that you just know almost every year that they are just a step behind.
Oh, man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.